Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like that, what am I? Today we're talking about Doctor Who, Joy to the World. I think my doc is like out of order or sorts or something like that. Anyway, joining me we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is, we're talking Doctor Who, the Joy to the World. It's the end of the year. I'm phoned in. I'm on like a holiday before I don't have to go back to work until January 2nd. So it's whatever. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Christmas special from Doctor Who to wrap up our year here on That D Plus Show. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Why did we pick this? Because Doctor Who plus Christmas made sense to knock it out here. This was originally released December 25th, 2024. It had a runtime of 57 minutes, though that's like probably 5 minutes plus of like Disney Plus credits and stuff. But in our Doctor Who timeline, we had the 2023 specials last year, The Star Beast, Wild But Yonder, and The Giggle, followed by The Church on Ruby Road as last year's holiday special. And then we had Series 14 / Season 1, in quotes, the 8 episodes that ran here in 2024. This holiday special, Joy to the World, and then we'll be back sometime in 2025, TBD, for the next Season 2 of Shudigatwa, aka Series 15 of the modern reboot. Diving in real quick, running through the roll call here. Our director, Alex Pillai, has credits going back to 1988, but a lot of his more recent stuff includes Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Bridgerton, Riverdale, and Pretty Little Liars: Original Sin. Our writer for this special was Stephen Moffat, who, of course, was the showrunner during the 11th and 12th Doctor eras, as well as having written Coupling and Sherlock for the BBC. As well as many other iconic non-11th and 12th Doctor era Doctor Who episodes, including The Empty Child and Doctor Dances, The Girl in the Fireplace, Blink, and Silence in the Forest, Forest of the Dead, as well as this last season's Boom. Mm-hmm. Our cast of characters, of course, returning as the Doctor here, Shudigatwa, having been the 15th Doctor since the aforementioned The Giggle episode there in 2023. He's also been in things like Sex Education and the Barbie movie. And then joining us as one of the temporary companions here in this episode, Nicola Coughlan, as Joy Almondo, who known from her work in the show Dairy Girls, as well as Bridgerton, but she's also one of the Barbies in the Barbie movie. Mm-hmm. We have a fun little, I think Russell T. Davies has called her the companion that never was in Stephanie DeWhaley's Anita Ben, aka the receptionist in the hotel of this one.
I did not know that's what they were calling her.
That's what they called her in like a behind the scenes thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because the Doctor basically spends a year with her.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of this episode.
Yeah,
and we'll get into that. But yeah,
not a ton of credits in her backlog, but she has been doing some acting since 2005. Joel Fry here as Trev Simpkins has been in things like Game of Thrones, Paddington 2, Yesterday, Cruella. The thing I probably recognized him most, Our Flag Means Death. But then he's also in Paddington in Peru, which has technically released in the UK, even though it's not going to be here stateside until 2025. But yeah, he plays the postman in Paddington 2 and Paddington in Peru. Jonathan Aris is the Silurian hotel manager. If you are a fan of old school PlayStation games, he was in Croc, Legend of the Gabos, and Croc 2, seemingly as the voice of Croc. He's also in Sherlock, The Martian, Rogue One, Avenue 5, and His Dark Materials. Character actor over the years. And then we get a little cameo from Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday, having played Ruby since the prior season, as well as her work in Coronation Street. A little bit of trivia here. Originally, Russell T Davies was supposed to write the festive special, but he had to abandon it because he ran out of time and had to start work on season 2 of the 2023 Doctor Who series. So he emailed Stephen Moffat asking him to take over and write the new special from scratch, which marks the first time in the modern run, and possibly as well as the original run, where a Doctor Who festive special is not written by the showrunner currently in charge. During
I don't recall that ever happening in the modern era.
Yeah, it is always definitely in the modern era. I just didn't go back and look in the historical era too. This also marks Stephen Moffat's 50th script for Doctor Who.
Oh, cool!
And he is not currently slated for a return in the upcoming season, so it may tentatively be his final script, at least at the time of recording. The Doctor, of course, steals the rope and equipment from Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay ahead of their ascent to the top of Mount Everest. This one is just shout out to our friend Logan. The character in the Orient Express is only named in the credits, but she is named Sylvia Trench, a reference to the very first Bond girl from Dr. No, who also appears in From Russia with Love. She's the first quote unquote Bond girl. And the actresses have a similar look, and also the timeline matches up to it was between Dr. No and From Russia with Love kind of thing. So
that's an odd little thing, but that's cool.
Fun, weird little, weird little nod.
She was also reading the script for the Murder on the Orient Express while she was on the Orient Express. It was very much like a actor doing research for a parts type feel as well.
Yeah. I didn't know if she was. I didn't see it as reading a script so much as just reading the book.
Oh, maybe.
But maybe. But yes. Shout out to the line and those awful people and their wine fridges and their dancing and their parties, and I listened to them and I let my mother die alone. Equals burn in hell, Boris Johnson. Is my note on that one.
Yep. That line is brutal. We were used to people breaking quarantine over here. They were much more strict about it over there, and just if you're familiar with the controversy, it's absolutely brutal.
Yep. In the Time Hotel, the restaurant is named De Tambles, or De Tamblay, a possible nod to Henry de Tambles or de Tamblay in The Time Traveler's Wife, which was adapted for HBO by Stephen Moffat.
Oh, there you go.
The clothing shop in the Time Hotel is Mr. Ben's Any Era Clothes, likely a reference to the 70s cartoon character Mr. Ben, who went into magical costume shop that transported him to the world of whatever he dressed up as, and costumes in the shop window, like a suit of armor and a spacesuit, mirror those from the Mr. Ben opening credits. And then lastly, the newspaper that the Doctor is holding as he steps into the Time Hotel for his milk includes stories like Prisoner Zero Found Innocent and Duck Pond Mystery Solved, as nods to the 11th Hour, aka the first episode of the 11th Doctor. Cam, what did you think about this one? What did you think of Joy to the World here?
This might be my favorite holiday special of Doctor Who.
Wow. Okay.
There is one thing that I think it does well, and it's in direct contrast to last year, which was my favorite. Church on Ruby Road, which was previously my favorite one, was because it was setting up a brand new thing. It was it had such a great drop in with the Doctor coming in, doing all of that, and then that really launching the Doctor Who era that we're in now. On the flip side of this, I love this as it is a isolated, buttoned up, perfect, top to bottom episode, tied neatly in a bow, beautiful, wonderful little Christmas present to everybody who loves Doctor Who. It hits on so many facets of the Doctor that I love, which is the problem solver, the intrepid traveler when it comes to, moving through the hotel and figuring things out and doing all of that, as well as just the willing to really take the piss out of himself. Whenever the Doctor has to be confronted with the Doctor, all of a sudden, turns out is his own biggest critic. And that comes across extremely well. And so it completely captures a lot of the things I love about Doctor Who. It is a Christmas special that instead of it being about a alien invasion or a like something like that, it is much more about a like it is isolate, like it's not about a bigger terrible thing happening as far as like an extra like I'm thinking about like the one from a couple years ago with the 12th Doctor, and even the 11th Doctor with like invasions and big big blow up fights. I like that this one is less about the action as far as fighting and more of the action as problem solving, which is I think what Shigegawa is extremely good at with his Doctor. And yeah, overall, like also I like a slice of life for the Doctor. Normally I don't like that, and somehow it came across extremely well, and I really enjoyed it this time. And I think it just has to do with like we knew it was finite, we knew that he had like goals and everything, but it made the attachment to Chair Knight extremely good. And like really sets up this like should have just been like a whatever like side character, who's not the companion for the episode, but ends up becoming that anyway. So he ends up with two companions in this episode.
I mean, like realistically, Anita is the companion.
Yeah.
He spends.
You're right.
Spends like 15 minutes with Joy, and spends a year with Anita.
That's true. Anita really is, Joy really is like the red herring. Like a red herring of
that was the
companion.
thing. That was the thing I found myself thinking was like Nicola Coughlan being like very much the promoted like guest star of the episode, but like. I found her the third most interesting companion of this episode behind Anita and Trev. And admittedly, I'm always going to be a fan of a Trev.
For sure, yeah. No.
But like,
I just really love that actor.
I like that actor a lot. And so, yeah, when he pops up and is, a security guard who's, just doing his best, just trying his best, and immediately, gets the devastating, like, like the death sentence of the briefcase attached to him. I'm like, no. And like I feel bad when he says like I let you down, sir, kind of, and have that. So it was a very triumphant moment when his little holograph thing comes back.
Dude,
at the end of the episode.
I was sitting, I was lying on like my stomach, and I literally like jumped up.
Yeah,
I freaked out when it happened. I was like, I can't believe it. That was awesome.
So like with that, and then with the fun, endearing relationship that the Doctor creates with Anita. It is very largely platonic, but like maybe there's hints of she's interested in something more, and ultimately is okay when it doesn't happen, kind of thing. A lovely, charming little thing. All their different game nights. I love that like the Doctor is enough of a presence that even Etsy in the world of the Doctor has created a whole bunch of little police box figurines that he collects. Love that. And then I love the endearing little like button for her character of the Furl Auld Lang Syne. Like, I think you'd be great at this job. And basically he gives her an adventure in going to work in the Time Hotel.
It's perfect.
Which is just a lovely little thing for her. If they, look at this and say, hey, like people really connected with that chemistry, and they do like a Donna Noble and bring her back as like a future companion, I would not be mad about that at all.
Not at all.
Because she was like that ended up just being weirdly the heart of this. Whereas like, the adventure then, okay, we cut back to the Joy stuff, which like fun in and of itself, and the idea of the Time Hotel.
Yes, the Time Hotel is such a fun setting.
It is I love the concept of the Time Hotel. I hate the like impetus being like, isn't it weird that there's always that extra door in a hotel room? It's like, no, man, those are connecting rooms. Like if you have a family and you need two rooms together, that's the door that connects the two rooms together. Sorry, that is such a baffling concept to you, Stephen Moffat, that you were so befuddled by that. You created this like mythos of a time hotel, instead uses that door to like check in. But also, you also immediately undercut it by being like, oh, that's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So the Tower of Pisa is a hotel? No? What? But
the tent on Mount Everest, that's exactly. A hotel?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
like, you just created doors into the past.
Yeah.
Fine. Fun idea. But yeah, I like the way they utilize it, and I like the As much as I didn't need the like final Bethlehem splash, because I got it well
Yeah.
before that. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
It was still like a nice, like, oh, I love that it gives the, like, the earlier on, they set up the idea of like, yeah, it's a bootstrap paradox because how did the doctor know the number if the doctor sits there and never really gets the number in his ear there, except for when the doctor gave him the number. I like that they kind of like establish that. So then you also get like this weird little bootstrap paradox at the end of
Mm-hmm.
Joy being named Joy Almundo, aka Joy to the World, as like, was she named after like the song and the star and the spirit of it, or and she is the star and the song and the spirit of it, kind of thing. So it was a fun little like full circle thing there. But yeah, like the biggest thing I liked about the Joy character herself was that like the doctor poking and prodding
Mm-hmm.
at her to get her to the state of anger and rage at, Boris Johnson and whatnot. The thing I don't like is like that they do everything but say COVID. It's like we all know what you're talking about. Why didn't you just say the word? Like
I don't know.
why like it feels like there was pressure to not make it really real, even though we all know that that's the very specific time thing you're talking about and reference you're talking
I
about.
don't know. Also, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, we now say COVID very blasé, I guess. Like it's much more of like a passive word when during the time it was like
Yep.
the word. And so I'm wondering if this is like a way of
Maybe the thing is, well, we would have said corona, and people wouldn't have gotten that it was the coronavirus
Coronavirus.
because those silly Westerners call it COVID.
yeah, well,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
maybe it
who's
would
to
have been
say?
like a philosopher's stone, sorcerer's stone kind of situation. So they
Maybe.
just scrapped it. But no,
Or also if in the future people are going to be like, well, we have COVID vaccines out the wazoo now. If you get COVID, like there's like it's only in the worst possible instance if you're like immunosuppressed or have other like underlying issues where you're already almost dying. COVID might be the thing that pushes you off like over on it. But so like would people understand the context of that, like her situation in the future? I don't know.
I think they would just fine, and or they could go anywhere and look it up. And
Sure.
like
I don't think it's a good reason that I gave. I just kind of that's the only thing I could spitball.
yeah, it's the kind of thing that like, yeah, if you read, like, if you just do a straight reading of Shakespeare's text, you don't get half the things that are being referenced in there. But if
Sure.
you read the Oxford, version or whatever, the Folger Library version that has all the footnotes in there that kind of fill in the blanks, you got that. And that's what Wikipedia will be for people that circle back to this. But yeah, it was just like, and it's a thing that I've seen, in a handful of media at this point, where it's like, okay, we all know that you're talking about COVID and you're talking about that year we all lost kind of thing. So just say COVID. just say the word that we all know because we lived through it 4 years ago.
Unless there's some sort of like unspoken, like unwritten censorship thing
I
that
mean,
they have to deal with.
I
don't
mean,
know.
that's like, I'm sure because of the amount of times I've said COVID in this, YouTube's going to, block this, a bit, or if they're really paying attention, they'll throw like the little, like, here's actual medical information in like the subheader of our video kind of thing, because the algorithms are stupid and broken and don't understand context.
And of course
they
we
hear the word and, well,
slap
that's
it on
that's
there
a
and
that's a buzzword in the same way that, like, if we curse enough in the first 15 seconds, they'll age gate the thing or whatever.
It's true.
So like maybe it has something to do with that,
I don't know.
or maybe I mean,
Like, it
in
might
that
be a
in that
BBC
vein, maybe
guideline.
it's a note from Disney basically saying like, hey, we don't want to, like, that makes it too real. So like, yeah, we'll all know what you're talking about, but just don't say the word.
Well, it could also
Like,
just be
wouldn't
like a
surprise me.
BBC standard thing. They're like, hey, we don't want to use this word. Da da da. Like BBC tend to be like have those like weird rules. Also, BBC being a government, like it also might be because it's a government like nationalized television station or television, whatever. You're dealing with like potential restrictions because you can't defame people like you can't do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that
I
would
agree,
be an
it's
even
stupid.
worse issue. But,
Yeah.
but
Oh, for sure. I
yeah.
agree with you. It's stupid. They should have just done that. But the only thing I can think of is there's something else there, or they don't want to like use that as the crutch for it because it could be interpreted by other people as other things. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a weird thing. I don't want to get hung up on it, but it is super weird.
It's a thing that jumps out at me when it is that much of a, not even plot point, but like that much of a character moment, like that is effectively Joy's backstory.
Yeah.
Entirely. Like, she can't deal with Christmas anymore because 4 years ago she had to live through the worst possible Christmas and couldn't be there for her mother because of COVID.
Were you under the impression that she was going to be... There's some stuff that that the doctor said about like you can tell something about somebody's hotel room.
I mean, I like the vibes I got were that she just needs to be alone and just can't be at home, can't be with people on Christmas. I did not get any sense of like she's going to self-harm or anything like that.
See, that's the only thing I could think of is like I was one or the other.
She's talking to a fly, which was weird that like that's a whole thing that then never comes back and becomes anything. But but yeah, like I think
that was saying how lonely she is, like just how alone in the world she is.
Yeah, I mean I think that is definitely an element of it too. And that's what the doctor hones in on to, kind of needle at her to get her angry enough to break the hold of the suitcase. How he knew it would do that, I don't know. Writing. But yeah, I appreciated that, like, he felt bad for having to say those things and whatnot. But it also was a flavor of the Doctor that we haven't gotten to see, I think, with this version of the Doctor.
No, this version's been very like nicey nice, or like deadly serious. It's not. There hasn't been a moment of like taunting and torment.
Yeah, and it's all like because there's a degree of like that's also the Doctor that has spent a year going through life day by day, which he's not always the biggest fan of.
Yep.
So there's a mix of this has been a plan long in the works with also probably a bit of resentment and frustration of like that whole piece of it. But like even there, going back to like the beginning of the episode, I love that this is still very clearly a Doctor fresh off of leaving Ruby, and still hurting as he often does, kind of in between companions, but still like grabbing 2 things of milk because he's working absentmindedly, and he goes back in the thing, and he's like he puts his jacket on. He's like, wait, why did I put my jacket on? What am I going? What did I see? Like, I love that. Like, he's in autopilot, and autopilot being the Doctor is going to go and investigate and save the day. I thought that was a fun little like opening intro to this whole situation.
Absolutely, I agree.
Any other beats or bits that you want to shout out or speak to?
There is. I wanted to speak to just kind of like that year of his life. I appreciated that it's like, well, what would the Doctor do if he was just like stuck at a hotel for a year? Oh, he becomes that hotel's handyman, and he goes around and he fixes stuff and he does things. And I went ahead and got everybody what you all wanted. Like, everybody, here you go. I'm on a diet. He goes, well, it's not what you wanted. Like, what you really want, like my psychic paper told me what you really want, and you wanted biscuits and jelly. Like, I love that. That's the attitude. Like, what's the Doctor like as a waiter? Like that.
Yeah. It's the GPS isn't telling me where I want to go. No, it's telling you where you need to go, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's what is the Doctor like as like an everyday person, and he's like not like hiding his identity. Oh, it's like this. I'm like, listen. I'll just be honest. You could give me a season of the Doctor and Anita just like doing the hotel stuff, and I'd love it. It's so good. It's just fantastic. The Anita, as like when you told me the companion that never was, I was like, oh, that's a brilliant title for her, because she really does become. I love it at one point when he says, oh, like the fireworks. Oh, Guy would love this, and she goes, who's Guy? A boyfriend? He goes, no, Guy Fawkes, the fellow who tried to blow up Parliament, and it's just like. Love that. I love that. Like, she's, oh yeah, no, he's a time traveler, like, and he lives in my hotel. And their game nights and like their chair night, so to speak, is just so good.
Shout out to the like. Are there any other rooms in the hotel that have this? Yeah, the honeymoon suite. Take them there. We just get that very awkward like couple that's there trying to have their honeymoon. And the doctor, yes, I don't remember what the line is, but says something to the effect of like, "Don't you wish you could just get on with it?" kind of thing, and them just being like, "Yeah, we do."
Oh, and she's there eating their like honeymoon suite like desserts.
Yeah,
and it's so good. Like she's so like, oh well. Also, when she comes at the beginning of the episode when they're at like the Mexican standoff thing, and she comes in with towels and whatnot, and she's just doing her job while she's talking about it and giving commentary. I was like, oh, but this is why I was like, oh, this is a fun character, I guess. Okay, cool. I didn't, and then it's like, that's the clue that she's going to be picked up and she's going to be more of that companion type character. Also, yeah, you mentioned earlier, like there was a little bit of like romantic tension a little bit. I did feel that a little bit, but I feel like it then charged right into platonic.
Yeah.
Super hard. To the point where also like she mentions, oh, is Guy like a boyfriend? Like it's very much like we are the best of friends at this point. And when he says goodbye, he's like, she goes, "You're slipping away without saying goodbye." Like real dick move, Guy. Gives her a little. Obviously, it's one of his boxes that he ordered over the year. Shout out also to him being like, "Oh yeah, no, I did do diagrams and like figured out how to make this like suitcase thing work. I figured that out." And it's like, oh yeah, no, he was shown that before he got carried away with everything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like he is. We see that he has created the diagrams and that it has been on his mind and all that stuff. But there's still he knows the code because he's already been given the code. But how did he know the code to be given the code? And I like that they call it out and they're like, "Yep, bootstrap paradox. It happens. It happens more often than you think." Kind of vibes.
And I like how he's like, and it works here because the hotel itself is a singular like timeline thing. So it's like because of the location we're at, the bootstrap comes full circle and doesn't become a paradox unto itself and crash time.
Yeah, and the idea also that the rooms are only available if the adjoining room is not currently occupied.
Yep.
And so like the only reason we see that little, montage at the beginning is because the doctor is breaking into those rooms. He's breaking he's using the sonic to break the lock to get into the Blitz or Mount Everest or the train. And I liked that at least like the train, the Mount Everest piece of that came back at the end as well as like okay, there's a reason for that. And then the Blitz ends up just being a little bit more like, oh, like it's, I mean, maybe that's just a throwback to Moffat's first episode, obviously being the Dr. Dance's two-parter kind of thing, set in World War II. So, that and like obviously the Villengard stuff being another full circle Moffat bit that we've talked about in the past with Moffat stuff with Boom most recently.
I really love, by the way, also the plot of the like Villengard's plot about like, oh, a starseed, we want to monitor it as it grows. Okay, well, let's send it back in time through the time hotel to do this. Let's go ahead and, of course, Villengard, typical, oh, you're no longer useful, be disintegrated. Trev coming back at the end, I was, like I mentioned earlier, I leapt for joy. I was like, I can't believe they did that. One of the things I really, really loved was the Solarian. Not Solarian, sorry. Solarians are from Mass Effect. I'm trying to think of... Silurian, thank you. The Silurians, that the hotel manager, when he said, the doctor says, how did you go from being under the crust of the earth to being in a time hotel? And him saying, I was young and I was lost. There was a cave in and I was lost. But then a door opened and I went through it and the people were kind and they were good. And I'm like, that just like really warmed my heart and like was really heartbreaking. Like, oh, he became the manager working his way up after he was saved. Mm-hmm. The time hotel and staff saved his life. And now here he is like losing his life there. And then him coming back at the end as well as part of the Starseed with Joy and Trev and everyone else was like such a good heartwarming moment for me. I was like, they're alive still. Like they're going to continue to live as this star now.
Yeah.
And then they're like the star of the Bethlehem Splash. I was like you, I didn't need that. I like the context clues of it, and I enjoyed that. But like,
this old ancient like cave that we crawled out of, and the star. It's Christmas, and everybody's looking at this star. Yeah. No, we get it. We get that that this is the star over Bethlehem. Because you also, even before that, you have the doctor saying like the line, or like the doctor sets it up early on of like, no wonder there was no room in the inn.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
100%.
That being a fun like meta gag to that, to set that all up, and then obviously comes full circle. We get the like pan over and the Bethlehem. It's like, thanks Moffat for thinking we're that dumb.
You know what? Some people
this ain't Sherlock we're watching. Which also he was notoriously handholdy or obscure about. Shout out to the H Bomber guy videos that just tear the shit out of Sherlock.
I didn't watch that because I enjoy Sherlock, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to continue to enjoy Sherlock, and I don't want H Bomber guy to yuck my yum. Okay,
it's okay. You're enjoying a lie is what you enjoy with Sherlock.
Trevor, I was religious for 25 years straight.
Sure, yeah, there you go.
Straight also being an emphasis. I was being straight and religious for 25 years. I lived a massive lie.
And are you better off now, or do you want to go back to living that lie, aka watch the H Bomber guy video and have the illusion of Sherlock broken for you?
No, I'm good. I want to enjoy my modernist.
All right, stay in your Sherlock closet then.
I will stay in my Sherlock closet. Thank you very much. Also, I am going to stay in. Listen, is this the allegory of the cave? And I'm willingly enjoying the puppet show. Absolutely.
Look at the star in the sky.
Nah, I'm good.
AKA H Bomber guy. It's a weird tangent.
It's a weird tangent, but at the same time, like,
yes, obviously the Bethlehem thing. Not needed, but I did like the moment we go back to the mom in the hotel or in the hospital bed, and like her having that realization that that's somehow her daughter in the sky, being a beautiful little like, because I like as soon as it gets set up, my immediate thought is, okay, somehow by the end of this episode, the doctor's going to take Joy back to the like hospital room. He's going to sneak her in so she can say one last goodbye to her mother. And no, that doesn't happen. Instead, Joy is doomed from the start to become a star. But
she's doomed to become Joy to the world. Yeah,
it is a nice little button for that character, and it also is it like it this you mentioning this as being your favorite of these. I don't know if I've like bothered ranking this or anything against any of these, but like this very much gave me the Astrid from Titanic, from the Space Titanic vibes of like great little self-contained story, companion kind of doomed from the start, but that, that's a thing you can get away with a little bit more in these one-off holiday specials where you don't need to carry the companion forward and they can still have taught the doctor a lesson. And Joy saying at the end, like, don't be alone. That refrain that we get so often in these. I mean, it's very much like Donna in her holiday special before she was a companion kind of thing. Being a lovely little kind of button that will set up presumably what we get from the Doctor in season 2. And I liked also that we get the little reference of like, who aren't you calling? And it being directly a reference to Ruby. She's got to go live her life. I got to let them go kind of thing. But then also the little moment of Ruby looking at the star and thinking of the Doctor and thinking fondly of her adventure. And then I'm going to go call my mom or something.
Mom calls her and she
answers. Mom's on the phone. Hey.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that is a wonderful thing when people were also talking about like, well, why is Ruby only his companion for one season? It's like, no, that is she has to live her life.
Yeah.
She found out the mystery of her birth, and turns out there wasn't a great mystery at all. It just happenstance.
As exciting as Adventures with the Doctor can be, the Doctor in this episode finds out how exciting living life one day at a time can be with the right people in your life. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, I want more than anything the Doctor to take that away. Obviously, no, it's going to be back off to adventures. But I love even that is such a 180 from the Matt Smith Doctor that had to live a life with the cubes and stuff, and abhorred living one day at a time, and was bored out of his mind, even with the right people of Amy and Rory.
Sure. Or you have the 10th Doctor when he's hiding out from the family, when he's erased his memories. Like, that is also him one day at a time. But like I said, I like that it's not, oh, I'm hiding who I am, or I'm hiding out that because I was referencing that set of episodes specifically.
Sure.
In particular, this one, I'm like, yeah, no, this is absolutely fantastic as far as like.
Well, he didn't have a magic fob watch that he could have hid himself in the past or whatever.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I just really enjoyed. Yeah, because even it's like the Doctor being a waiter for like the people who are at the hotel and like serving them food, like I mentioned earlier, is like a highlight moment. Like these day-to-day life experiences that the Doctor has never gotten to have. And for him,
there it's fixed, like the microwave or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's bigger on the inside. It was not supposed to be.
Like, perfect. Just so good. I loved everything about it. And like I said, I could do an entire season of it, just like the mundane life of the Doctor in a hotel. And I think it speaks to the quality of the character, 2, the quality of the actor portraying it, and 3, the quality of the people, like the writing around it. I think would have to be like of that caliber. Mm-hmm. But overall, like, yeah, no. Once again, Shigegawa continues to be like just an absolute stellar performance as the Doctor. Like quickly climbing into like fighting and jockeying for position as like one of if not my favorite Doctor. There's something about his Doctor that is just so. It's so joyful. There's so much joy that he injects into the role, and he does it in such gusto and such heart. Like everything about this Doctor is the bleeding heart. That like the previous Doctors have been like war weary and calloused over, and it's like that. There's none of it this time. It's just all love and all joy and all like living all at once.
Yeah, I mean, as we got from the specials last year, like. The bi-generation that they did, like this is the Doctor that got to go on after the Doctor got therapy, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is a Doctor more in touch with like having dealt with the trauma. Like the David Tennant Doctor is out there, 14th Doctor is out there, like dealing with the trauma so that this one can kind of have grown from that.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little thing. I would need to go back and rewatch it, but I feel like when they are doing the chair night stuff, I feel like they made mention of some of like classic Doctor Who story things, like
man, I'd have
little nods and stuff. And I thought that was fun.
I'm sure if they're in there, then that's fantastic. Once again, like Moffat also loves paying like all the showrunners love paying tribute to the. Like I think we've now coined ourselves, if it wasn't coined by other people, the historic era of Doctor Who. You know, those old episodes.
Classic eras.
The classic
I think
era.
what they the coin or terminology is. But yeah, so much fun. And obviously, yeah, there's so much of a love for this character that I think Moffat gets to convey here in a very fun sense. Little on the nose with the like Bethlehem splash, but at the same time, I liked that was. Mm-hmm. I liked that they kind of gave a, in-universe Doctor Who, version of events without. I guess it was like Bethlehem 0001.
Yeah.
Without passing judgment at religion or anything like that. It was a very just kind of like, hey, here's one possible explanation for the star in the sky that the wise men followed.
And like you could easily put like a religious tone to that, being like, well, maybe it was like meant to, or God, like anything like that. You could tie into that as well and just be like, yeah, no, but they don't have to. It was not meant to say anything about religion. It was to say, hey, that star above, guess what? That's a girl named Joy, a guy named Trev, and a time hotel manager. And then in the future,
a couple other
people are in there. That's what's going on here. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's lovely. That's beautiful. Just like that perfect tight. Normally people would have to do it as a tightrope. Stephen Moffat just being like, no, I'm just not worried about it. We're just not going to worry about it. We're just going to have fun with it. And, it's like,
and it was all started 4,000 years in the future by, or at least 4,000 years in the future by an evil company, an evil weapons manufacturing company. But
we're trying to weaponize star power.
Yeah, evil got a logo or whatever the doctor says. Even evil, where there's a logo, there's PR, kind of whatever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so good. That was so good. Also, shout out to the T-Rex eating the thing.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. I'm like, where are they at? Where you have to go that far? You have to 65 million years. It's like,
yeah,
awesome.
I love that, especially so like
because there's also you hear the stomping and like the rattling, and he's like. What?
And so they had released a couple clips of the show before, like in the months kind of leading up. One was like the opening, like a little opening montage, all the way up through like the doctor coming in with the pumpkin latte and ham and cheese toasty, while Joy's there holding the dryer at the Silurian. And like, so basically they gave like they were like, hey, here's the first couple minutes of the episode, but then they also gave part of that sequence, basically the part of after the doctor has berated Joy so that the briefcase is off of her, like they say, now who's this briefcase from, kind of thing, and go into that, and it goes up into there's a dinosaur and them sliding down before, and like it cuts off, making you think like, oh no, they're going to get eaten by the dinosaur. Obviously that doesn't happen, but like, so those were the two clips that they had shown. And so I like the further context of it, of him having just been like, they would need 65 million years to birth the star. I've run the numbers. Where are we, by the way?
It's perfect. It's perfect.
and then Joy being like, the doctor, like, so the dinosaurs were 65 million years ago. And he's like, I know, the speech was going so well before that. It was a great little meta moment.
That's so good. And then on top of it, it's like, oh, well, we'll have to just find it. And they find it, and it's like, well, they have to like do the whole thing. It's like, we can find it here. And he does the tracking it down and everything. And she's like, well, why do we do that? He goes, well, eventually the dinosaur would have to either throw it up or pass it.
I love Trev's bit of like, oh, like, I've had 65 million years or I've had a long time to run the numbers, sir. I'm not going to let you down. That's the thing. Like, I've overridden, much like we got in Boom, like the human element overrode the AI. So I like that kind of reference and callback. But the like,
also great, another shout out saying like F you to AI.
Yeah.
So.
But I love the whole like, oh yeah, you'll have to like, you'll have to figure it out, all that. Or we're in room 48, sir. Okay, yeah, let's just go there.
Perfect.
Being a fun little,
it's so perfect
beat.
I love it, dude. I just love this so much. It was such a fun episode. It reminded me immediately why I love this doctor, why I love the current run that we're getting. And like, shout out to Davies.
Russell T. Davies. I believe it's actually just Davis, but it's spelled Davies.
Gotcha. Russell T. Davis. Shout out to him being like, hey, I don't have time for this. Who should I throw this to? Stephen Moffat, my old pal, my old faithful. Let's get you on this one. And Stephen Moffat was just like, hold my beer. Let me outdo all the other Christmas specials. And
there was also a fun, back before like the episode titles or anything had been announced for the first season, Moffat, like after Russell T. Davis basically got signed back on, there was something out there, Moffat got interviewed, and he basically name dropped Joy to the World and Boom in the interview as like teases for like the episodes he'd written. Like one of the questions was like, what do you think, what do you think the fans are thinking of Russell and you being back? Joy to the world or something. And basically he like, like he was very like self-deprecating kind of in his responses, but like with the hindsight we know, it was like a fun little nod of like, oh, he was laying the seeds.
Brilliant. Absolutely
for
brilliant.
The fan base to go back to and find. So, yeah.
Moffat's a gift, when at his best, at his worst, we've talked about it before on previous episodes of the T Plus show. Moffat at his worst is like the most preachy, overbearing, beating you over the head with stuff. But
also, shout out to this little late addition to the trivia because I hadn't refreshed the IMDb page, and I hadn't caught this. So shout out to this. But when the doctor takes the rope from Edmund Hillary and is asked why he's stealing it, and the doctor says because it is there.
Yes, yeah,
as a nod to why Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Everest. The famous quote being like, because it's there. Being like, okay, who said it first? It's highlighted here as another potential example of bootstrapping.
Perfect. It's perfect. I love it. I did pick up on that when they said it. I just I forgot about it, but. Yeah, no, that is a beautiful moment as well. It's just great. It's all this fun. Absolutely. Also the doctor when he is reading her letter, and he goes, "Oh, I mean, you shouldn't who's the dump him. Don't worry." She goes, "It's a her," and he goes, "Oh, well, she's not." And he goes, "I wrote that." And he goes, "Oh,
yeah." Like she got terrible grammar, terrible sentence structure, or whatever.
Yeah,
I wrote that. Right on, or whatever. Yeah, whatever he says.
Make sure you send it, and then but then at the end she tears it up, and it's like cool. I don't know what further details about that. That's just very
especially
fun,
in the
moment.
Context of okay, if she's supposed to be the first Bond girl or whatever, it's it's a weird little just other character element. But yeah, also from the behind the scenes video, they put it up on YouTube kind of thing. Just another cool thing was Moffat kept expanding Anita's role.
Cool.
And so she kept because he loved that section of the story and kind of just wrote more and more for her. So we got more chair night scenes because of their chemistry and their connection. And I think they realized they were touching on something really, really cool and really neat there for the doctor to experience. So shout out to that. And then also, don't know how this necessarily ties back to anything, but the character Anita's last name in the credits is Anita Ben, Benn. Also, Mr. Ben's outfits or whatever. So maybe she's also supposed to somehow be an ancestor of that. Whatever. Anyway. Cool that she gets to end up in the time hotel. Could be an example of a
bootstrap paradox where she is the one that starts the idea for it.
Yep.
And hey, it's weird. We are we don't have this. Oh, I maybe if you did the thing, another bootstrap paradox. There you go.
Yep. Anyway,
just some fun stuff,
Indeed. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
My only final thought is fantastic.
Yeah.
Just absolutely fantastic.
A lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing where the next season takes us. Mm. There also, I don't know if you've seen, but there is a 30-second tease of season 2 kind of thing that they dropped on socials and stuff.
I'm liking going in blind. Okay. I went in blind on Joy to the World.
I mean, yeah, this is very much 30 seconds scattered across all the episodes kind of thing. Sure. You're not it's something that I'm sure the Easter egg hunter channels are siphoning through and trying to figure out stuff. I couldn't figure out what the hell's going on from anything from it, apart from a look at the new companion kind of thing. But anyway, yeah. And there's a cool shot of people in a cinema with a Cuphead style animation thing playing on the screen that is coming out of the screen. The animation is coming to life and becoming the monster seemingly. I was like, oh, that looks really cool.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah. Anyway, so that is going to those are our thoughts on this episode. Let's dive into the report card. Grade from A+ to F. What do you want to give this one, Cam?
This is an A+.
A+.
Once again, Doctor Who continuing to deliver in the A's. I believe so far they have straight A's. From our previous ones, but shout out to if there's any super fans out there who want to go through all of our, I've always made the joke man, we should have opened an Excel doc years ago and been tracking these, but to get some stats. But Trevor said no.
I had a doc going for a while that was here's who's on each of the episodes, and I haven't even looked at that in probably a year. So, at this point, it's I just know it's you and me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So maybe Cameron or maybe Logan shows up for like one episode a semester or something like that. But anyway, yeah, I'll give it an A, not A plus, not quite A plus for me, but definitely a great episode. And it might like it. If I were to go back and rewatch it and like maybe find a little bit of stuff I missed before or something like that, maybe could go up. But yeah, solid outing. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. You have the Doctor Who first season series there, as well as the Doctor Who specials. And I don't know why they're doing this, apart from just making it more confusing and hard for people to find on Disney Plus, but they have Doctor Who Special 4, aka The Church on Ruby Road, Doctor Who Special 3, aka The Giggle, Doctor Who Special 2, aka Wild Blue Yonder, Doctor Who Special 1, aka The Star Beast. This was Doctor Who Special 5 instead of A Joy to the World. But then other suggestions are What If? And Skeleton Crew and Andor. You watching anything else on Disney Plus? You keeping up with any of those other things?
Keeping up with Skeleton Crew. I haven't watched this last episode just yet. And then because I started What If, trying to play into that a little bit. So been watching that as well.
Cool.
Because I know this is the last season of What If.
Yeah.
So
I'm caught up, except I've not watched today's episode of What If, but I've watched the first 4, I believe, that are up now, maybe 5. I don't remember.
I watched them out of order on accident, and I've seen episode 4.
Okay.
Which is the weird one.
The Howard the Duck one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is easily the weirdest of the bunch so far.
I don't know why I kept watching it. I'm like, I don't think this is good, but here I am.
I like that at least that one ties back to like a season 1 episode.
Yeah.
Like it's basically like the sequel episode of that, in the way that we've gotten like Peggy Carter sequel episodes kind of in that universe. I like that this was like, all right, yeah, let's do a weird one where that little gag we had of Howard the Duck and Kat Dennings' character meeting spins off into a whole other thing. Sure, why not?
Hey, Seth Green and Kat Dennings getting to have an entire episode to voice it themselves.
Yeah,
pretty great.
And also like they brought back a lot of weird villains for that one.
Yeah,
and a lot of them are the people voicing them. Like, yeah, just a weird one all around. So yeah, I'm keeping up with that. And then I have caught this week's Andor. Or not Andor, Skeleton Crew. Still very fun. This one's probably the most Goonies of the bunch.
Oh, hells yeah!
So I think you'll enjoy that when you get to it. And then also I sat down and watched the thing. After we discussed it last week, every year they do the like Christmas parade, thing. I watched that on Disney Plus, and it did feature a performance from Pentatonics.
There you go. Okay.
From the Aulani, Hawaii resort, they did a version of 12 Days of Christmas.
Good for them.
Yeah,
glad they're still out making it happen.
And then like the headliner of the thing is Elton John. It's like, all right, yeah, cool. You got Elton John to go perform in front of the castle. Neat.
All right.
So yeah. Shout out to that as just like this is a thing you can watch on Disney Plus. I don't know if you saw, I didn't watch it, but they advertise it within that video. They animated, I think in real time, one of the NBA games yesterday, or if it wasn't animated in real time, it was like another basketball game that they animated and just did like full animation, like 3D animation, where like sometimes one of the characters, like one of the basketball players, will just be Donald Duck, or
what,
or Mickey,
no,
or
I missed
something.
all of this. I did not see any of that.
Yeah, that's a thing you can go watch on Disney Plus, apparently. As everybody is going into the live streaming of things,
This is
Disney apparently decided to do their own weird take on it. Of like just a weird NBA game. Fully in like NBA Jam-esque style animation kind of thing. It was weird.
That's weird. But at
anyway.
the same time, yeah, no. I mean, if I remember watching anything NBA, it's going to be on TNT because they got the best 4 possible panelists you could ever ask for, and mainly because they have Shaq and Charles Barkley as the commentators, and those two are hilarious.
All right. Anyway. So that is going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, Cam, for joining me here to talk Joy to the World, the latest Doctor Who Christmas special. I don't know what we're going to be back with next week. I haven't thought about what we're going to come back and do here in first week of January. I think.
First week?
Next week will probably be What If, because we'll have the full season of What If done by that point.
I believe that's on the schedule. That's what we have.
So we can
and then the week after that is the last episode of Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. Or I think Skeletons. I think there's going to be a week in there between What If and Skeleton Crew, and so that's when we talked about maybe doing like the Jim Henson documentary or something like that. So anyway, What If? Season 3 will be our episode for next week's show, so stay tuned for that. You can follow Cameron at revcabot.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a massive shout out to our upcoming slate of That Nerdy Side episodes that you're going to be seeing coming out in January. It's Game of the Year time, it's Movie of the Year time, it's TV Show of the Year, and it's the random internet things we paid attention to of the year. So look forward to our lists, look forward to the podcasts. We're super excited for it. We hope everybody else is as well. 'Tis the season to get really analytical.
Sure. Yes. You follow me at trevorjstarkey.bsky.social, and I will echo that with the caveat that that will be starting in January. We are going to take this coming Monday off from That Nerdy Site show for the holidays and just kind of, enjoy the end of the year without having to squeeze one more podcast in there in the mix. But yeah, then we'll come back there. January 6th will be our Game of the Year, most likely. And I think it's probably just going to be you and me on this one.
That's from what I understand, yeah.
I've not, like, Logan, I know, hasn't played nearly enough to rate anything. But he does want to come. Yeah, he does want to come and do the movie one.
Because he has watched a ton of movies this year.
So he'll be back in a couple weeks for that. But yeah, hope everybody had a good holiday. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com. If you like what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. As always, thank you for joining us. Stay nerdy, be good to each other, and class dismissed.